5 billion naira Nigeria Youth Investment Fund for the period of 2020 to 2023 was unveiled, dedicated in investing innovative ideas and skills of Nigerian youths as they were urged to take advantage of the opportunity to secure their future. In Abuja,
and reports just reaching us says a meeting of the Northern Governors is underway in Kaduna. Mohammed Umar Ajingi reports that in attendance are members of the National Assembly, led by the Senate President Ahmad Lawan, and a high-powered federal government delegation. Among them, Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, some ministers, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, traditional rulers from the North, and some senior government officials. The meeting is being held behind closed doors. We'll bring you the details of that in our subsequent bulletin. Guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria have called for improved communication strategies and regular interface between the government and the youth towards bridging communications gaps and preventing violent agitations. Alika Okpanachi Aruwa has details.
The nation is still counting the cost of NSAS protest, especially the huge impact on socio-economic sectors. While condemning the looting and violence, which the NSAS protest degenerated into, the guests highlighted poverty, unemployment, closure of schools, as well as communication gap between the government and the youth as factors that prolong the NSAS agitation. Establishing a two-way communication that engenders feedback from the youth was described as critical going forward.
The youth have been trying their best to talk to the government. I don't think the government are ready to listen, but now I believe that with all these things happening, the government must have put themselves together to listen to the youth.
The government on its side must learn how not to compound issues and pile them up. Because if you look at the result we're getting today, the grievances from all quarters is a result of compounded issues.
Government should try to listen to young people by having one or two person as a focal person in their policy making. So that person will now get back to the constituency, hold meetings with them, get the feedback, and present it to government as a policy.
The youth were urged to help build the nation they want to lead and not give in to divisive tendencies.
In a world or age of education and technology, we have 1,000,001 channels that we can communicate with our youth. How much are we using education and technology to communicate with youth? Even when we open a Twitter account, do we really communicate with them or we just pass order?
The guests also appealed to the government to promptly address issues of public concern before they escalate. In Abuja, Alika Okpanachi Aruwa, NTA News.
The arson carried out by suspected hoodlums and criminals in the name of NSAS protest in Cross River State has left the health sector in urgent need of intervention. Paul Abel reports that HIV, tuberculosis and COVID-19 samples in some health facilities were carted away, thereby endangering the lives of people who may come in contact with these samples.
Some health facilities affected by the mayhem include Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Infectious Disease Hospital, World Health Organization Office, Essential Drug Program, COVID-19 Isolation Center, and some primary health care facilities across the state. The havoc wreaked on these health infrastructures come as a rude shock to all well-meaning Nigerians, as the act is capable of truncating effective health care delivery in the state.
It's so sad. This is not who the Nigerian youth represent. This is not who we are, and this can never be who we are. I just hope that we're able to sit back and rethink if this is actually the Nigeria we want, and if this is actually how we need to conduct ourselves to get the Nigeria we intend to get.
In view of the collateral damage, what now is the way forward?
That it will definitely affect the healthcare delivery in the state. However, we're not deterred. We'll continue to push, and we'll get whatever resources we have at our disposal with helps from international partners and indeed everyone, the federal government of Nigeria, to rebuild back our health system and to rebuild back our state. And we pray that this never, ever happens in our lifetime again.
As the state picks up bits and pieces of its life after the incident, it is believed that youth will never allow a repeat of such an occurrence in the future. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
In a related development, the Nigerian Medical Association is seriously disturbed by a spate of attacks on health facilities ranging from burning of hospitals and clinics to looting and vandalism of medical and hospital supplies, consumables and vaccines during recent violence of the aftermath of NSARS. In a statement, the NMA condemned in an unequivocal terms what it called as barbaric, primitive and wanton destruction of hospital facilities that is capable of endangering the health of Nigerians and have irredeemable negative impact on the health system. The association expressed shock on the magnitude of the reported looting and vandalization of health facilities, hospital equipment, vaccines, drugs and consumables, as well as assaults on its members who were in the line of duty in Lagos, Ebonyi, Delta, Edo, Cross River, Kaduna, Nasarawa and Ekiti states. The statement added that one of the immediate effects of this unbecoming behavior of the hoodlums is the danger the public is exposed to, which it says may have long-life effects not only on human beings but also on the environment. The unfortunate action of hoodlums will further weaken the delivery of health services as Nigeria continues to fight the COVID-19 pandemic in an already near comatose health system and will certainly be a setback on our country's desire to achieve the universal health coverage and sustainable development goals. The NMA therefore calls on those who are in custody of these medicaments and hospital equipment to return them either to be used or destroyed professionally because some of these medicaments can be very harmful to the human body. The vaccines that were carted away are meant to prevent diseases, but the action of the hoodlums may lead to resurgence of vaccine-preventable childhood diseases. And from health to the judiciary, Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami SAN said the federal government of Nigeria is working seriously to end impunity for crimes against journalists and the public in general. Now, this is contained in a message commemorating the United Nations International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. The minister added that the 2020 Global Index for Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists by the Committee to Protect Journalists, released on Wednesday, 28th November, that was 2019, indicates that Nigeria is no longer among the countries with impunity for crimes against journalists. Nigeria is the only country that came off the index from 2019. Malami described the achievement as a result of deliberate commitments of President Muhammadu Buhari through the implementation of many reforms in the Nigerian justice sector to include increased access to justice, speedy justice dispensation, decongestion of Nigeria's correctional centers, and judicious implementation of the Criminal Justice Act and justice sector reforms. He expressed optimism that with solid foundation of reformed justice sector to be bequeathed by Buhari administration, never again will Nigeria feature among nations where journalists, citizens and inhabitants of the country will suffer from any form of impunity in the future. The minister said the recent developments in the Nigeria's international arbitration against PNID and some international oil companies are but indicators of resolute determination of the federal government to bring to an end the era of impunity and lack of adherence to due diligence and rule of law in governmental operations. Now, studies show that globally close to 1,500 journalists have been killed for reporting the news and bringing information to the public. And killers, we hear in 9 out of 10 cases go unpunished. Well, this impunity emboldens the perpetrators of the crimes and discourages journalists and indeed the society at large. Joining me in the studio now to talk more on impunity for crimes against journalists is Dr. Umar Jibril Gwendu. He is the Special Assistant to the Attorney General of the Federation on Media. Thank you very much, Mr. Gwendu, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
All right, now, when we say impunity, you know, that when we use the term impunity for crimes against journalists, what are we really talking about?
Yeah, it's important to make some clerical or conceptual clarification as far as this issue is concerned. When we talk about impunity, we're talking about exemption from punishment or freedom not to suffer from any consequences of an action. So if someone does an act which is contrary to the provisions of the law, that person should not go free. Because if you allow such persons to go free, it will demoralize the other members who the punishment is supposed to serve as deterrence to others.
Yes.
And when you allow this to continue, it will demoralize the journalists themselves, because they will live in a fear that they cannot continue to function effectively, in as much as the perpetrators of crime against them are left to go scot-free or unpunished. And it also demoralized and also demonized the entire nation, as this is a country where everything is accepted. At the same time, you know, as important as journalism is, there is need for serene and luminous atmosphere for the practice.
Okay,
and when you instill this fear in journalists, or in journalists, you will find the practice will not go, and there will be a lot of challenges in the practice.
And you agree with me, Mr. Gwandu, that impunity breeds impunity, and that will lead, you know, that feeds into a vicious cycle. What would you say is responsible for this? Is it that, you know, the law is not catching up with these perpetrators?
One of the principal pillars upon which this government is built upon is also the issue of the rule of law and the entrenchment of democratic ideals, where impunity will no longer be accepted. We want the idea, the concept, the application and implication of this impunity be completely obliterated and eradicated from the Nigerian system. And some of the challenges that cause is the absence sometimes of legal framework, or sometimes the political will. Sometimes you find a lot of crises across the globe that may aggravate the issue of impunity. Sometimes, because of lack of professional training, journalists may endanger themselves in the way they practice. And there is also issue of safety training, or training of peace journalism, an issue of safety practice. So journalists should be trained on this issue of what is going to be safe for them, how to practice, and people should also be aware.
When you say safe for them, what are you trying to say?
That people should be made to know that whenever something is done against an inhabitant of a country, a citizen or a journalist for that matter, there is naturally going to be consequences. And the government will not fold its arms to allow people to go and commit all sorts of crimes against even citizens of the country, and also journalists included.
Okay, and we've seen non-fatal attacks on journalists. We have seen harassment, intimidation, arbitrary detention, you name it. Now, how can the journalists be protected, knowing fully well that we, I'm also a journalist, are essential workers, you know?
Yes, journalists can be protected, as I said, through establishment of legal framework.
We have that already.
Then the issue of training is also important. And the political will, the government is determined to ensure that all perpetrators of crime against journalists are brought to book. And that's so that punishment should serve as deterrent to others. And this is part of the issues, I think, that will be done in order to ensure that there is no longer any problem affecting journalists. I think the National Union of Journalists and only other stakeholders may have to sit down, brainstorm, and bring out ideas on which these things will be brought to an end completely.
But Mr. Gwandu, how can you confidently tell us right now that perpetrators, people who commit these crimes, against journalists are being convicted? How many of them? Because reports shows that 1 in 10 cases.
But this, as you are aware, that report that you have been quoting is the US-based Committee to Protect Journalists report.
Yes.
This Committee to Protect Journalists is an international organization that's taking account of all the infractions and crimes committed against journalists. And they are taking account of all these things globally, not in Nigerian context alone. So, and the recent report they have released, they say that Nigeria is the only country that came off the index from 2019.
Yes.
This is a landmark achievement and a very important record we have achieved as a country. That Nigeria is no longer among the countries where journalists or crime against journalists go with impunity. We have been in the list for a number of years, but recently, based on the report that has been released in 2020, that's that last Wednesday, October 28th, says that Nigeria is not among the countries where journalists suffer from crime and impunity. And in this case, we are saying this success recorded cannot be unattributed to certain reforms in the Nigerian legal system and justice sector reforms, including the implementation of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, issues of this prison decongestion, issues of Freedom of Information Act, the implementation of this, the Freedom of Information Act, the determination of the government to ensure the rule of law and the relative peace we have enjoyed in the country, unlike the past, as well as this issue of speedy dispensation of justice and access to justice, which the government is seriously working on. And if these things are to be maintained, Nigeria will not feature again in the list of countries where journalists or crimes are committed against journalists, and these perpetrators of the crime go unpunished.
Well, it's a good thing journalists are beginning to speak out, but we must continue to protect their rights and protect the truth.
The government is committed to that.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Umar Jibril Gwandu, he is the Special Assistant to the Attorney General of the Federation. All right, West African Examination Council releases 2020 results. Well, you get the details when we come back after the break as we join Adiola in Lagos. Stay tuned.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years, the creation of 75 billion naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths, and the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survivor Fund, through which government is A. Paying 3-month salaries of the staff of 100,000 micro, small and medium enterprises. B. Paying for the registration of 250,000 businesses at the Corporate Affairs Commission. C. Giving a grant of 30,000 naira to 100,000 artisans and guaranteeing market for the product of traders. These are in addition to many other initiatives such as farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic.
That social media is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source for a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Mr. President said the youth of this country have spoken, and he has heard, and he has since gone to work for the youth of our country, not just as a president, but even as a father of the younger generation.
The real Nigerian youth is a patriot, not a tool of destabilization.
Mr. President made an appeal to the Nigerian youth that these protests, wherever held, should be done in a peaceful manner. The Nigerian youth should be on their guard to make sure that elements that will infiltrate and distract them from the very purpose of their protest should be prevented from doing so.
Listen to the voice of reason.
Thank you for joining us in Lagos. The West African Examination Council WAEC has released the 2020 West African Senior School Certificate Examination results with 65.25% pass rate, an improvement on last year's 64% pass rate. Hingino John Adams gives us details.
Briefing the press in Lagos, head of Nigeria National Office of the Council, Patrick Aregan, disclosed that out of the 1,538,445 candidates that sat for the exam, 1,456,727, representing 94.69%, have their results fully processed and released, while 81,718, that is 5.31%, have few of their subjects still being processed due to some errors committed by the candidates. 86.99% of the candidates, as against last year's 82.35%, obtained credit and above in minimum of 5 subjects, with or without English language and mathematics.
The results of 215,149 candidates, representing 13.98% of the total number of candidates that sat the examination, are being withheld in connection with various reported cases of examination malpractice. The examination was also conducted in Chibok local government area of Borno State, the first time since the abduction of over 200 school girls in the area by insurgents 6 years ago.
In the month of April, candidates of the West African Senior School Certificate Examination were left in uncertainties as a result of the initial cancellation and subsequent postponement of the examination caused by the coronavirus pandemic. On 17th of August, the candidates' anxiety was fully put to rest as the examination began with mathematics and ended on September 12. Barely 2 months after the examination, the results are out. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
The wanton destruction of property carried out by some unidentified hoodlums under the guise of NSAS protest affected many public and private businesses, and the marks are still everywhere, attesting to this wastage. Here in Lagos, victims are collating their losses to enable them pick up the pieces and get back to work. That is why the Managing Director, Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Bala Usman, toured the vandalized headquarters of the authority and assured maritime operators that business operations will be sustained without any form of delay or setback. Abolade Salami reports.
Just 14 years, close to 1,200 journalists have been killed for reporting the news and bringing information to the public. This is according to information gathered from the United Nations. These figures do not include many more journalists who on a daily basis suffer from torture, enforced disappearances, and harassment.
Journalists stand firm to ensure that the right of the people to free speech, the right of people to information, the right of people for proper education and government policies, and of course, entertainment and what goes around them are being pivotal to the sustainable development of journalism in Nigeria.
There is a common opinion that when attacks on journalists remain unpunished, a very negative message is sent that reporting the embarrassing truth or unwanted opinions will get ordinary people in trouble. This may also make the society lose confidence in its own judiciary system, which is meant to protect everyone from attacks on their rights.
The most fundamental thing, one, is the entrenchment of the rule of law in words and deed, and the rights of journalists to seek for information and to be protected in the process.
Journalists themselves too have to respect themselves to be able to perform their duties respectfully, and then get the interaction between them and government in such a way that everybody benefits, both parties benefit. The journalists benefit from the interaction, the government itself benefits from the interaction.
The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed November 2nd of each year as the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. In Lagos, Awal Yusuf Jibo, NTA News.
Many apologies for that mix-up. That was actually the report on the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. We now revisit the earlier report on the tour of the Managing Director of the Nigerian Port Authority, Hadiza Bala Usman, where she went to have an on-the-spot assessment of the vandalized headquarters of the NTA in Lagos.
The 7-story building situated in Marina Road in Lagos Island serves as the corporate headquarters of the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, where cargo handling and maritime service operations are carried out. On the wake of the NSAS protest, when youths were demanding an end to all forms of police brutality, some unscrupulous persons took advantage of the protest to loot and vandalize both private and government property, and NPA was not spared. To assess the level of damage and impact of the fire on the building, the managing director said NPA's operation is not affected, while proper investigation has commenced to ascertain the financial implication of the damage.
What is paramount is our services are not interrupted. Our networks and our systems have been functional. Within 2 days of the incident, we're able to resume all port operations continued within 24 hours of the attack. We're also able to ensure that critical information and documents are safe. All our financing and payment systems have been protected and we're not in any way affected.
Although no casualty was recorded, but the annex wing of the building and about 27 vehicles belonging to NPA and members of staff were burnt. Thus, the management said, will be documented while other necessary actions will be taken. She emphasized that the Nigerian Ports Authority will not be deterred in carrying out its constitutional role of offering cargo handling and storage services. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
So much from here for now. Ruth is back to you for more on Nationwide.
Many thanks, Adiola. In its efforts to check the rising spate of cybercrime and advance fee fraud in Nigeria, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has arraigned 2 suspects before the Federal High Court in Abuja on 10-count charge of advance fee fraud and other related offences. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo was in court and now reports.
In order to show the importance the federal government attaches to sanitizing the image of Nigeria in the area of cybercrime, advanced fee fraud, and money laundering, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, is personally prosecuting the case. The suspects, one Babatunde Adesonya of Agbado, Ogun State, and Akinpelu Hassan Abbas of Meron, Lagos State, along with their company, Master Point Investment Nigeria Limited, are facing a 10-count charge of advanced fee fraud and other related offences Act 2006. They were alleged to have, among others, defrauded one Frederick Van Haar of the sum of €880,000. They all pleaded not guilty to the 10-count charge. They are to remain in prison custody until Monday the 9th of November, when their application for bail will be heard by the court. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
Right, let's join Sadia in Sokoto now for more reports from that end. Sadia?
Sustaining the gains achieved in antenatal care and routine immunization in Kebbi State required renewed vigor by relevant stakeholders in keeping the flag flying. Now, this was the consensus at 2020 Polio Day celebration held at the palace of the Emir of Argungu in Kebbi State. Hassan Abubakar Koko reports.
Kebbi State has achieved 86% coverage on routine immunization and witnessed tremendous increase in number of pregnant women on antenatal care from the early stage of pregnancy to delivery. This is coming following commitment by relevant stakeholders that include development partners, traditional leaders, and positive posture of the Kebbi State government through advocacy, communication, and social mobilization.
And the partnership proved to be a very successful one. Today we are celebrating Polio Nigeria. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your partnership.
We have faced many hurdles, we have endured, and we have innovated, and eventually we have succeeded. And I congratulate everyone associated with this success.
Notwithstanding defeat, however, communities must understand the imperative of availing themselves with the opportunity provided on maternal and newborn care for a more healthier society as a catalyst for socio-economic development. The wife of Kebbi State Governor Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, who distributed diapers and bath kits to 1,000 women, reiterated the need for pregnant women to regularly visit hospitals to avoid maternal and child complications. In Brunei, Kebbi, Hassana Abubakar Koko, NTA News.
Special prayers have been held in Sokoto in memory of victims of 29th October 2006 ADC plane crash in Abuja. Lalhata Abdullahi reports.
The state lost many prominent personalities in the ill-fated ADC plane crash in October 2006, including the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Machidu, his son, Senator Badamasi Machido, Sokoto State Deputy Governor Garba Muhammad Silame, Senator Suleyari Gandhi, Ahmad Dambaba Magajin Gari, Sokoto, and Magajin Rafin Sokoto Bello Sule, among others. To immortalize their legacies, a special prayer was held in Sokoto. The State Deputy Governor, Muhammad Manir Danya, said the dedication and selfless service of these sons of Sokoto State remains fresh in people's memories.
We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to bless them and give them Al-Jannah Firdaus.
The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, represented by the Sai Kilgori, Dr. Muhammad Jabbi Kilgori, described the prayer as timely, pledging the Sultanate Council's support to organizations working to improve the citizens' lives. A philanthropist in Sokoto, Alhaji Marunkobo AE, the convener of the prayer under his foundation, the Jeremy UK Foundation, said the prayers are in recognition of the deceased contributions to national development. In Sokoto, Dalatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
That's it from here. It's back to Ruth in Abuja.
Thank you very much, Sadia. Let's look at security. Troops of Operation Sahel Sanity operating in the northwest have rescued 3 women and their infants kidnapped by bandits in Diskuru village, Faskari local government area of Katsina State. Details of the encounter contained in a statement by the Acting Director of Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyeoku, shows that the operation is sequel to a distress call on the activities of the bandits who arrived the village on motorcycles, shooting sporadically to scare people. Brigadier Onyeoku notes that 5 bandits were eliminated in a gun battle that ensued, with others escaping with injuries while a soldier paid the supreme price. Similarly, 2 suspected bandits collaborators have been arrested in Den Ali village. And a look at religious matters. Nigerian Christian pilgrims are to participate in the 2020 pilgrimage scheduled for December this year. This followed the approval of the federal government after due consideration. Omenka Amarachiko will tell us more.
For about 7 months now, coronavirus has made countries of the world to shut down their air and land borders in order to curtail the spread of the virus in view of its implication to the affected countries. This has no doubt affected the bilateral relations and physical visits across the globe. Various efforts at different levels have started yielding positive results. The recent is for the participation of the Nigerian Christian pilgrims to participate in the December pilgrimage.
Plans are on the way by the federal government to ensure that the bilateral air service agreement between Nigeria and Israel is activated so that Nigerian airline can airlift our pilgrims directly from Nigeria to the state of Israel. This will afford the intending pilgrims the opportunity to understand the real essence of pilgrimage and sport in them the spirit of patriotism.
The Commission has commenced medical orientation programs for the medical personnel that will participate in the pilgrim exercise. In Abuja, Umenka Marchuku, NTA News.
In Ebonyi State, we hear the Judicial Panel of Inquiry into Police Brutality has commenced sitting in Abakaliki. Kensley Okoro reports that the panel has so far received 5 petitions against Police Special Anti-Robbery Squad.
A public outcry on police brutality and human rights abuses in Nigeria, a panel of inquiry was constituted to receive and investigate complaints of police brutality and human rights violations or related extrajudicial killings in Ebonyi State. At the inaugural meeting, the chairman of the panel, Justice Aloy Nwankwo, announced that the panel has held several meetings and will continue to uphold fairness while carrying out its duties.
Today is the inaugural sitting of the panel, and I wish to state categorically that in determining the cases presented before us, we are poised without fear or favor to ensure restitution to those whose fundamental human rights have been or were violated by security agents in Ebonyi State. So far, we have 5 petitions. We have a friendly atmosphere that allows the petitioners and the general public to come and present their cases.
The panel, which has 6 months to receive and investigate complaints as well as make appropriate recommendations, appeal to the public to maximize the opportunity for their own goods. In Abakaliki, Kinsley Okoro, NTA News.
All right, let's now get the latest update on Edo Medical Store's warehouse in Benin as we join Agatha for that and all the stories. Agatha.
Ruth, for joining us in Benin. Edo State government is taking stock of the losses suffered and what is left of its warehouse looted during the NSAS protest.
It is over a week hoodlums looted the government warehouse on Medical Stores Road, storing palliative and medical supplies that served as strategic reserve to mitigate eventualities in the state. This action by the hoodlums left the place vandalized and the perimeter fence destroyed. The state government is now taking inventory to ascertain damages and what is left in stock. Also, clearing of debris from the looted warehouse and rebuilding of the perimeter fence are ongoing. As the military cordons off the road and adjoining streets, commuters are now experiencing traffic jam before getting to their destination.
Before this crisis, there was no crisis. Everywhere was going smoothly. But since this crisis was here now, everywhere now turned upside down.
They say they have no option than to endure the situation until everything returns to normal.
The Delta State Judicial Panel of Inquiry has started entertaining complaints from victims of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad on allegations of brutality and extrajudicial killings in the state. Rosemary Romani has details of the sitting.
Following the federal government's order for all states in the federation to set up a judicial panel of inquiry to entertain matters of police brutality, Delta State government has commenced its sitting, chaired by Justice Christiana Ogisi.
I wish to restate that this panel will be fair to all those who bring their complaints before it. We will ensure that justice is not only done, but manifestly seen to be done.
A petition from one Christopher Ukboru was entertained. The petitioner alleged that in August 2019, his son was arrested by the police and till date has not been seen. The Delta State Police Commissioner, Hafiz Mohammed Inuwa, was represented by his deputy, Josephine Anyasinti.
At the end of this exercise, I believe we in the police will get to understand how the public wants us to police them.
The panel thereafter adjourned the matter to Tuesday 10 November for continuation of hearing, while the sitting was adjourned to Wednesday 4 November for other petitions to be heard. In Asaba, Rosemary Omani, NTA News.
And Ruth, is now back to you for more reports on Nationwide.
All right, thank you very much, Agatha. We'll definitely continue with reports after this time out. Stay tuned.
My name is Nando Jamda
Muhammad. Hussein Musa. Roduna Joel Tinji. Said Musa John.
I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
And I said that plantain na kai kimamin shekara
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
And you can see how we are doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician, and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Business.
For a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android, Intelsat 901 degree east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Thanks for staying with us. Salamatu is ready with the next set of reports from Kaduna, so let's join her.
Thank you, Ruth, and welcome to Kaduna. Kaduna State Governor Nasser Ahmad El-Rufai has called on the National Assembly and its Ad Hoc Committee on Constitutional Review to leverage on the APC True Federalism Committee to initiate either a piecemeal or comprehensive constitutional and legislative amendments conducive for modern governance. Governor El-Rufai was speaking at the just concluded Ariwa House Golden Jubilee celebration in Kaduna. Muhammad Umar Ajinge reports.
After saluting the vision and sacrifices made by the founding fathers of the northern states, Governor Nasser Ahmad El-Rufai told his elder statesmen, intellectuals, politicians, and traditional rulers that it was time to act on recommendations of the APC Committee on True Federalism, which meant to lay the party's roadmap for nation's greatness.
The APC Committee on Federalism recommended that the Federation be rebalanced, with more powers and responsibilities devolved to the states. The committee also clarified that the Federation is a relationship solely between the states and the federal government, and that each state should be allowed to operate the system of local government that best suits its circumstances, culture, and diversity.
Governor El-Rufai says the committee chaired by him believes that Nigeria has come of age to restructure her laws, make necessary arrangements in her constitution for modern governance system that will move the nation with the trend of the 21st century. Part of the recommendations by the committee is for state to exercise more powers in controlling resources to deliver better services to the people. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Emir of Duse in Jigawa State, Nuhu Muhammad Sanusi, says the success of the current efforts towards making agriculture an alternative source of revenue for the country depend largely on transformation to mechanized system of farming. The Emir stated this when he exclusively conducted NTA crew round his rice farm in Duse as a show of leadership by example for people to go back to the farm. Ibrahim Belogunda has the details.
Since the coming of this administration at the national and state levels, one thing they have constantly campaigned for is the revamping of the agricultural sector for food sufficiency and even export. There is no better way to do this, according to the Emir of Dutse Nuhu Muhammad Sanusi, than to go back to farm himself so as to ginger his subjects as well as feed his dependents. Although he started small with 5 hectares of rice field, he has now expanded it to over 22 farms of more than 40 hectares, with plan to keep expanding.
Jigawa State is an agrarian state, and we need more people to go into farming. And this is the biggest industry in this state. So I hope people will see from my examples go into larger scale farming.
He called on all Nigerians to embrace farming as individuals or corporate bodies, not only on subsistence basis, but even for commercial purposes.
In the next coming years, we will improve also on the seed variety, or the yield may be higher per hectare, and maybe also we'll see the need when we reach a level when we will see is commercially viable to establish our own processing plant.
Nigeria is now one of the countries leading in rice production, with thousands of its people gainfully employed in the sector, despite challenges of mechanization, storage and processing, among others. In Dutse, Ibrahim Bello Gunda, NTA News.
That's our package. Over to you, Ruth.
Thank you very much, Salamatu. Let's bring you an update on COVID-19. Latest data coming from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows 111 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in 7 states and the FCT. Now, this 111 new cases brings the total number of confirmed cases to 62,964 in the country. In the breakdown, Lagos has 49, the FCT 30, Rivers 11, Plateau 10, Ogun 4. Kaduna and Oyo 3 each, while Osun has 1 new case. Looking at the total number of cases per state, Lagos now has 21,287 cases. The FCT has 6,118 cases, while Plateau has 3,650 cases. 3,028 cases are currently active, while 58,790 have recovered and discharged, with 1,146 deaths recorded so far. Talking sports, hostilities continue at the ongoing Handball Premier League holding at the Indoor Sports Hall of Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. Gift George brings us sports update.
Results from match day 3 of the ongoing Prudent Energy Handball Premier League, as at the time of filing this report, shows that Plateau Vipers beat Kada Stars 23-19, Borno Spiders 26, Lagos Seasiders 25, Defenders 29, Rima Strikers 22, Adorable Angels 33, Defender Babes 36. Nigeria's top lady professional golfer Georgia Obo is getting set for the inaugural Saudi Arabia Open, which tees off on November 12th. The 19-year-old, who has already played 8 European Ladies Open Tour since after the lockdown, will be competing against 108 pro lady golfers from 6 countries. The first event is individual ladies stroke play over 72 holes, and the second one is the team event.
It's a great stepping stone for my career, with the opportunity to earn world ranking points in the build-up to the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Balls Activating Literary and Leadership had an online mentorship session with basketball pundit Femi Adefeso. The session featured MFM women basketball player Ukamaka Oko, who combines playing basketball and making shoes. The program with the team, Women Winning in Sports, is focused on using athletes as role models to mentor and inspire career paths and opportunities in sports.
Growing sports and showing the way to others. As sports is beyond just running on the field, kicking the football, throwing the basketball. It's a whole value chain. It's a full career.
On the foreign scene, match day 3 of the UEFA Champions League, slated for Tuesday, will see Shakhtar Donetsk against Mönchengladbach. Lokomotiv Moscow hosts Atletico Madrid. Salzburg face defending champions Bayern Munich, while Man City takes on Olympiacos. In other matches, it will be Porto against Marseille, Atlanta tackles English champions Liverpool, and Midtjylland plays host to Ajax. With sports updates, Gift George, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari joined thousands of Muslims in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, in mourning the demise of Imam Abdul Jalil Dabbo, the chief imam of the Uthman bin Affan Islamic Center, located opposite Banex Emma Plaza's Wuse 2, Abuja. In a message to the family and the followers of the late Islamic leader, President Buhari, who was represented at the funeral by Dr. Isa Ali Bantami, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, described the deceased Imam Dabbo as a rare leader, bold and courageous enough to say the truth to those in power. That's nationwide for today. We do appreciate your company, but continue to connect with NTA by standing against rape and rapists. I'm Ruth Aguela. Have a good